Hello and welcome to the Repurpose Your Purpose podcast. My name is Aurora Minigallo, and this is a podcast about doing work you love, whether you know what that is or you're still figuring it out. All right, so almost every week, I invite somebody to have a conversation about changing careers, growing their business, being a leader, again, doing work they love. And today I'm super excited to have here with me Franco Folini. Hey, Franco.
Hi, Aurora. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward to this conversation. Okay, I have so many things to
Thank-
say, but before that, how about I introduce you to everybody with a little bit of a bio? I know everybody, it can be a little bit boring, but I think it's the easiest way to know who we're talking to before we get into a whole conversation. And here we go.
Absolutely.
Franco Folini is a digital marketing trainer and consultant. He helps small and medium businesses strategize their marketing activities and investments to maximize their returns. Leveraging extensive experience as an entrepreneur and marketer in Silicon Valley, Franco now shares these skills with clients and students. Franco enjoys teaching digital marketing at UC Berkeley, the University of Strasbourg in France, and IULM University in Milan in Italy. In collaboration with clients, he prioritizes and coordinates marketing activities to help them reach their business objectives. Marco approach I'm so sorry, I don't know why I say Marco. Franco approaches all marketing endeavors, believing everyone's success begins and ends with the customer. Passionate about technology and innovation, he also works with a few startups as a mentor. Okay, wow. All right, I guess I should have had a little bit more coffee this morning. So, Franco, first of all, I'm so excited to have you on the podcast talking about, your reinvention and what you're doing because I want to acknowledge you as the person that really recognized my potential when I changed careers from being a photographer to marketing. Like, I really want to say thank you because, of course, it changed my life, first of all, and I learned a ton from you. And every career changer, needs that one person that will see beyond what maybe other people see and will take a risk, right? So you were that person for me, and I really want to thank you and say, wow, so many years later, I never thought I would have a podcast and have you here talking to me. All right. So, will you tell us a little bit about what you're doing now? What was your path there? How did you end up in Italy?
Okay. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Aurora. And I have to say that I have a very good memories, and it was a very good time when we worked together, and it was a very enjoyable experience to work with you. And so I'm also learn a lot from you. So it's goes both ways. It goes both ways. So um, I'm not young anymore. So let's. So I starting from the beginning, I graduated from computer science. So I have a master in computer science and from University of Parma in Italy. And after my graduation, I immediately started working at the university, and in a few years, I became a researcher. And you won't believe, but I was a researcher in the field of mechanical design. That was kind of a first kind of change. Um, so after a few years, I didn't fully agree the way the university was running its business and so on. So I decided it was time for me for a change, and I start created kind of an opportunity with some friends in California, and so I moved to California as a software developer. and in the company where we met. And as you know, a startup, no, it was a different company, to be honest. Yes, it was a different company. After about 1 year in California, I got the virus that is spreading through Silicon Valley, so I decided to start my own startup. And that's where we met. And it was an e-commerce startup, always related to mechanical design software. And after a few years working in, basically software development, I gradually moved to marketing, and I got really excited and passionate about marketing. Maybe because, in in our company, the software development was becoming a little bit boring, and marketing was much more exciting. And also was the era of, blogs, new social media were starting. So there was a lot of news, a lot of new things to try, to experience, to test. It was a very exciting time. And after a few years, I left, I sold my slice of the company, and had this opportunity to teach for UC Berkeley extension. And I ran a class for digital marketing for about 3 years. And at the same time, I started doing some consultancy in mostly for digital marketing. And then, why keep doing the same things over and over? So just to add a little bit of, excitement, I decided to move back to Italy. So 2 years ago, I left everything in California, and with my wife, we came back to Italy. And so back in Italy, I have to restart from scratch. And I was a little bit concerned, but now I have more client than I can handle, so I'm very happy. I'm a little bit too busy, and even the last this final change, hopefully not the final, but the last change was very rewarding and very positive.
Okay, I have so many questions. All right. The first one that I'm interested in is, so you embarked on two really big adventures. Okay, one was to go from Italy to the United States, and I think people sometimes forget how it was different to moving before Facebook and all these things, so you were
Yeah,
in
it's
constant
true.
touch. I mean, it was a much bigger endeavor. And then you again made another change later in life. And I was wondering, did you feel a difference of what was it like to make a change, and also what was it like to make a change at different times of your life? If there's any difference, maybe it feels the same, I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, you are absolutely right. We kind of forget that, before social media, just the beginning of the internet, moving to a different country was a very clean cut. The kind of connection you had with your friends was maybe a phone call every week or every month. Otherwise, you were by yourself. So you have to build a new connection, new friends, and to build a different new yourself. And so moving to United States was really something kind of a strong experience, but to me it was an extremely positive experience because I left Italy also. I moved to San Francisco, so it's not just any city. It was a very special city. At the time, San Francisco also was very charming, very exciting place to be. And so I landed on San Francisco. I was so excited that basically for for the first year and a half, I was like high all the time on my own adrenaline. And it was so exciting for me, but not exciting doesn't describe the feeling, I believe. I was really, everything was new and just learning new culture, learning new, meeting new people, a new language, because when I landed, my English was horrible. And so it was very challenging for me. But despite all this, was probably some of the best time of my life. And then when 2 years ago, when I came back to Italy, technology was different. So now I can, I have on WhatsApp, I have a chat with my friends back in Silicon Valley every day. I have clients that are in California, and I talk to them almost every day. So the break is not anymore so strong, and you can keep a lot of connection, and so clearly a different experience. Also coming back, I knew exactly where I was going to land. So I knew all the positive side of living in Italy, and the limits of living in Italy. So, but somehow, even coming back, I got back a lot of energy from this change. It was really, I landed here, and I spent the first year building connection, promoting my activities and so on. And I was very busy just in self-promotion, self-marketing. And after 1 year, I started to see a lot of clients coming to me, and everything I worked on started to generate new business. And so overall, absolutely another very positive experience.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it to me when we caught up a few weeks ago that there's something really exciting about reinvention, right? And that it gives us that energy that otherwise we might be, just on a good path, but it's always the same, and it's always the same, and it's always the same, and we forget how much we can get. Like we need sometimes that new challenge and the new adventure.
Absolutely. The change, I don't know, maybe it's my personality, but for example, when I'm doing the same things for work over and over, I get easily bored. So I really need to, I always look for something new challenges, something new to learn. And some changes are radical, like moving from Italy to United States. Other changes are smaller, like letting one client go and moving to a different client, or helping a client to adopt some new technology. For example, one of the fields where I'm very busy recently is to helping business to use artificial intelligence in their everyday working activities. Okay, nothing fancy, just the basics, but in a very pragmatic approach. And this is also something I didn't expect to become an expert. I'm not sure I'm an expert, but I really enjoy technology, and I enjoy sharing my experiences, my everything I learn, and there is a huge desire to know more about those new technology here, and I assume also in the United States. So it was, a good another good side of enjoying change.
Well, it's so interesting to me because I always felt about you that you are one of those people that learns new things and that is super good at teaching and seeing people's potential. And so it totally made sense to see you move into this role. So I am curious, like, what is the thread that you see connects everything you've done from, being a researcher in computer science to having your own startup to now mentoring and training and being at the forefront of technology and marketing?
Oh, this is a very good question. I was thinking about that a couple of days ago and asking myself the same question. What is the connection that ties together all those activity I did in my life? And one explanation I found is that um, I, on one side, I'm passionate about technology, innovation, and so on. So every time there is something new available, I need to try to experience the new tools, new technologies, and so on. And I take a lot of, I'm a little bit of a geek, so just play with tools and see what are the limitations, the potentials, and so on. And it's like a, toy, child playing with toys. And in the process, I learn a lot. And then this generates for me, the need to share everything I learn. And then that's the reason I became a teacher, I become instructor, and so on. So the learning and sharing what I learn are the two typical phases of my life. Okay, sometimes they happen sequentially. There is a learning phase and then a teaching phase. Sometimes they happen in parallel at the same time. But those are the two, as much I take pleasure in learning and experiencing new things, and there is also I'm very passionate about sharing everything I learn with other people. Thank you for telling me that you enjoy my sharing. But I hope my students are able really I try to transfer not just the technicalities, but also the passion, the pleasure of discovering, of testing, or playing with new things, and try to figure out new ways of using technology to improve our life. Okay, and that doesn't mean I'm blind about technology. I'm fully aware of all the limitations, the dangers, and so on. It's not like I'm blind geek. I know exactly all the danger, not exactly, but I know I always also, when I teach, I try to uh, help people to become aware of the limitations and dangers of those very powerful new technologies, but also to use a positive approach and try to take ownership and become positive users and use the technology to improve their lives.
I think that's fantastic. I'm such a huge fan of the teaching student, dynamic. And I mean, I love to consume tons. Like I read a lot, I do online courses. I mean, I love all that stuff. I love learning in
Yeah.
general. But I always feel like there is something so wonderful on both sides, when you find a good teacher, when you find a good student, that it's like a very just rewarding human experience.
Yes, and also this is something I learned very early in my life. I'm stating something kind of obvious. If you have to teach something, the first step is to, clear your mind and make sure that everything you've really fully understood everything. Okay. So this was, for example, my experience with digital marketing when I was working in that company with you. I was doing a lot of things and learning a lot about marketing, but my knowledge was a little bit, a little bit messy network of knowledge. Okay. When I started to teach for UC Berkeley, I have to take my knowledge and divide everything in buckets, reorganize everything, put everything in line, give a rational explanation to my intuitions, and sometimes my intuition were not right, so I have to change my explanation and so on. So was extremely beneficial for me to teach, and still extremely beneficial because for example, when I run training, the most enjoyable part, one of the most enjoyable part is to prepare the class. So but that's where I put all the pieces together, and I kind of raise myself to a better understanding of the problem. Otherwise, if you just stay, with my daily work, I will never able to raise above it's much more difficult to raise above the basics and the daily problems. Okay, I'm sure. Well, there are wonderful people that can reach excellence without this kind of stimulation. For me, I need a little bit of push, and teaching is perfect.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense to me, but also I feel like there's the relational part that really good teachers enjoy that relational part, which is also what I saw in you. You see the potential, you want, like, it's the human to human, and that's where I feel like the teaching or mentoring or training gets to the next level. All right, okay. Gosh, I was thinking of something else also as you. Okay, we'll see if it makes sense to ask another question, because I was thinking of something else as well. All right, so, oh yeah, this is what I wanna ask. So you are an entrepreneur. You still have a business, you work for yourself. You of course
Yes.
have a background in business. You ran your startup for a long time, and you now work with entrepreneurs. So what are some of the skills or mindsets that you really feel like every entrepreneur needs to learn or look into right now?
Well, that's a big question. Can I downsize the questions?
Maybe try me. How do you want to downsize it?
So I'm going to share my experience. So something I learned, probably I learned it a little bit too late, but it was a very important lesson in my life, is that as an entrepreneur, you start your own business, you take care of every aspect, you hire people, you build relationship with your team, with your clients, you acquire knowledge about your products, about your market, and so on. So you build a lot of things, and you put a lot of energy, and the company becomes your child, and you are attached to the company, let's be honest, more emotionally than it should be. So sometimes the business doesn't perform as well as you wish. So the good business rules stating that you should, if the business doesn't perform as expected, you should let it go. Okay. And it's always difficult to decide the right moment where, in Silicon Valley, they have two contrasting statements, like, never give up on one side. The other side is fail often, fail frequently. So you have to reconcile those two contrasting statement. And so you have to find, if there is a moment where you have to let it go of your business, you have to find when is the right moment, and is always a painful moment, because if you sell your business, you sell well, then let's say all your the money will take care of your pain. Also, you close the business in a successful way, so it's very rewarding. Sometimes you have a business that is doing well, but not well enough for your expectation or your investors. So you have to close it down or let it go, or move on to something else. Okay, and this is where I learned my lesson. Too many times I was too much emotionally attached to my business, and I missed the critical moment. So my exit was a little bit too late, and it, financially speaking, a late exit is not recommended. So I mean, I'm not poor, but I'm not rich, particularly according to the Silicon Valley standards. I'm not rich at all.
I didn't expect that answer, I have to say. And I think it's actually so important, and people don't talk about it. I feel like that's really great you're bringing that up, because it is true. When it's your own baby, like, you do not have perspective. That's why it's so important to work to bring other people in the mix, like, but
Yes,
they are
absolutely.
not in the company though, they are outside. you know
Yes,
like, I started,
absolutely.
yeah, I didn't do it for a long time, but then recently I started with my business coaching clients to be like, okay, should we look at numbers together? Because I noticed that there's so much in their head sometimes that it's like, even just like talking to somebody outside,
Absolutely.
right? It's like, even when you say to somebody, it's not just like in your own all the feelings. You
Absolutely.
get a
Yes.
lot of clarity. Is quite amazing.
Yes, that's the reason you need mentors. You need, sometimes even a friend can do the job. But as you said, somebody that you can share your, you know, what point you are in your business, even the numbers, and somebody that honestly can tell you, okay, maybe it's time to let it go, or maybe it's time to, you really need to change something. Okay.
Or even, yeah, it says what it looks like to them because they don't have skin in the game.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing. They don't have that emotional connection. They're not, you make money or not, it's not their money. And so they can kind of like, yeah, that's just really, I think if anybody is listening to this, the one thing they need to take away from it is really yeah, I think it's just not, it's not that talked about. Okay, but I want more. What else do you see from all these entrepreneurs you work with?
Um, I don't know. I mean, the internet is full of expert recommending what to do, what not to do, and so on. But I give you another example. In moving from US to Italy, what I noticed that there is a huge difference in the way of doing business. Okay,
Mm,
because professionally speaking, I grew up in United States.
mm,
Obviously, I prefer the American way of doing business, and when I moved to Italy, I was a little bit uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, are just two different cultures, two different ways of doing business. We can debate which one is the more effective. I have my opinion. Okay, so
What's an example of that for people that might not really know even what you're referring to?
um, an example, there are plenty of examples. The Let's say you have a business meeting. Americans try to be very professional.
Mm,
They don't. They stick to the topic, the
agenda.
theme,
Mm,
to the agenda, and there is a little bit of chit chat, but not very much. Italians are much more, free spirits. So in the middle of a meeting, there are personal jokes, sometimes not very politically correct, and something that American will never say. Something, oh, Franco, you put on a little bit of belly recently.
Oh my God, that's so Italian.
And
Yeah.
if you are an Italian, you say, okay, fine, no problem. Okay. If you're an American, this can be sound kind of offensive. Okay. So there is a huge difference in culture. So if your business is across different countries, it's on one side is extremely positive because you have the opportunity to learn the best from different culture, but you also have to remember to when you are in US, play with the American rules. When you are in Italy, play with the American rules. Another example is the personal space. So Americans, they have a perception of personal space that is, um, 3 or 4 feet around you, a circle around you. So when somebody enters your personal space, you feel like they are invading something personal. Okay. So unless it's a close friend or a member of your family, you start to worry about a little bit. Okay. Italians, the personal space of Italians is just few inches. So people just come very close to you, and for them, I'm one of them. For them is absolutely normal. So I remember the first time when I moved back to Italy, you go to get a coffee and people are just, millimeters away from you, and it doesn't mean anything to them. It's just a different perception of the personal space. So there are so many rules. So I'm mostly thinking about Italian startup. They want to move to United States. So they believe that, in order to move to United States, they have to learn all the rules for venture capitalists, finance, and so on. But they underestimate that there are also cultural rules that should be taken into account, and they should become more familiar before approaching the American market, because the wrong move can be really, really expensive. Okay.
You're sharing gems here. Like, I love how you're now sharing the usual thing that people can go. Like, this is the cultural thing is so important. Like, I feel like even the language is so much easier to learn the language than to understand all these cultural norms because people don't explain them to you. And
Yeah.
the body thing, like, I remember when I moved here, like, you would go to people's, I don't know, dinners or houses, and they sit, like, he needs that you're talking to somebody, you sit right next to them so I can talk to you, right? I can hear you. And I was always so puzzled that they would sit on the chair on the other side or on the other side of the couch, right? It was so weird. I'm like, but how am I gonna shout to you? Then use that, but nobody explains it to you. You kind of like, either you have to figure it out, or you're gonna make some really embarrassing. And in a business setting, you're right. Like mistakes, they're not gonna say you're out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and like I remember the first time somebody told me, "How can I help you?" I didn't know the real meaning of "How can I help you?" How can I help you means, "What the heck are you doing here?"
Well, that depends, right? It depends. It depends, but yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
One of the things though, and I say this to my clients that also lived somewhere else. It makes you a little bit smarter if you're an immigrant, because I feel like by default that there's stuff you don't know,
Yeah.
and you sort of like are a little bit more open to noticing. And I think in general it made me more aware, like in general in life, even interpersonal relationships over like, we're all a little bit our own country. And it's good to keep that in mind, that probably what makes sense to you does not make sense to the other person. But also that it's good to be very forgiving and gracious, that other people probably have no idea what is setting you off right there.
Yeah, but there
Right.
is also, so far I mentioned how to say, how Italians misunderstand the Americans, but there is also the opposite. I remember a couple of years ago, I was doing some hiking with a friend on the hills of Berkeley, and we were having a very engaged discussion. And Italians can have a very, noisy discussion, and they raise their voice, but just to
Make a
not to
point.
offend or to be
Mm.
aggressive, because it's just part of the culture. And I remember we walk um, we on the side of a group of Americans. They look at us like, and they look at me like, "Oh, you are a very aggressive Italian, attacking this poor guy." It was like, no, no, I'm not aggressive. That's the way we, it's different culture, is
I know that took me forever. I got that situation too where I'm just like talking to a friend and then out of the blue, why are you yelling at me? And I'm like, what? Like, I'm not yelling. Like, what just happened? And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
wait, American communication.
So it is super important to be aware of those differences when you approach a different country. And I cannot even imagine what it means to go in countries like Japan or some where the rules are even different, much more different. So really, I believe there should be some sort of preparation before approaching the market if you are like an entrepreneur, and prepare yourself. Yes. So not just prepare the money and your knowledge about the money, but prepare also your cultural approach.
Wow, okay. Any other tips here? I kind of feel like, what else? What else have you got?
Uh, well, the other uh, the other recommendation is what you mentioned before. So always try to find a mentor, senior entrepreneur, somebody that can relate to what you are doing, to your goals, and can give you positive, sincere feedback. So should be somebody that is not too old, much older, much more experienced than you, but is just a couple of steps above you in the in the progress. Okay, just a little bit ahead of you. Okay, I mean, if select Bill Gates or Elon Musk as your mentor, I'm sure they will give you a lot of good tips, but they are so far away from your business that is almost impossible for them to relate to you. But if you can find somebody that is just a couple of steps ahead of you, this would be the perfect solution. I wish I had a good mentor when during critical times in my business.
Good mentors are hard to find. But
Yes.
I see your point about having somebody just a little bit ahead, but I think those are true of like maybe in the moment decisions or more like timely decisions. Like when it comes to timeless things,
Mm.
that I feel like having somebody that's even many steps ahead can be really nice because they've been around the block so many times and certain things don't change. I don't know, that's
Great.
just my take on that. But all right, so let's see what else do I want to ask you. There was one more thing actually that it was in your bio that I feel like I want to hear more about, that you really said You have to be focused on the customer.
Yes, yes. And this is always my approach with marketing. So another word is empathy. You need to feel what your customers are feeling. So you have to talk with their voice, you have to feel their pain, you have to be one of them as much as possible. And that's the main role. If you can do that, then you can your communication can be really effective. And in marketing, there is a kind of general rule. Every time you write, every content should be at least 70% about others and no more than 30% about yourself. And I'm obviously violating this rule today, but
I think I violated too, but all right, let's not go there. But I think yeah, this is another amazing tip. All right, basically they're getting all your tips here from this episode. Now I'm joking. I know you do so much, but I feel like you're really sharing what's at the core of building a business that's successful, but also in a good way, in an authentic, good
yes.
way.
And I I'm passionate about marketing and so on. So many times I'm also a user. I buy stuff. I use services. So most of my life is on the other side of the fence. I'm not the one selling. I'm the one buying. So I'm very I become very not critical, but I started to notice the more and more I'm getting involved with marketing, the more and more I notice, when there is a space for improvement. Okay, so when you go to a website, say, wow, why didn't I think about that? So then I stop and say, okay, I have to remember next time I work with my clients that also I should consider this. Okay, so I'm trying to use the issue I find in website services, customer relationship, whatever, as a learning process to improve my job and to improve my clients. Okay, so every contact is a learning opportunity. Okay, so sometimes we'll, it's a little bit of a distortion in relationship with, you are not just, enjoying a vacation. You are just looking, oh, this hotel, they should do more to promote themselves in this way. Sometimes you will say, okay, I should stop wearing the marketing hat and just relax.
Yeah. But that's how we learn, right? It's the learning and sharing that you were mentioning before, the learning and sharing. That's your superpower right there. All right, I have my last question for you because I think we have to start wrapping this up, or I will keep you here forever. And it's a bit of traditional now. I ask everybody that joins me on the podcast, what does inner wisdom mean to you?
Sorry, what?
Yeah, what does inner wisdom mean to you? Inner
Inner
wisdom.
wisdom. Well, um, first of all, you should explain to me what you mean with inner
But no,
wisdom.
that's the whole point to ask. So, is it, do you feel like it exists? Do you feel like it guides you? Do you feel like you have it, that it needs to be
Well,
learned? Or is it just something
I
that I say and you're like, I'm not into this, which you can totally answer as well.
so I I, I believe in intuition.
Mm,
I strongly believe in intuition, but I also believe that we need to train our intuition. Okay.
mm,
So the more we learn, the more we get exposed to different issue, problems, solutions, and so on, the more our intuition becomes powerful. And I mentioned before that at the beginning of my career, I was working in a mechanical engineering faculty. And I remember working with this old mechanical engineer, and we were running some research with this guy, and we were testing one component of an engine and see how we could optimize the shape of this component using software, okay? And the guy was too old to use software, so he was only using pencil, okay? And I remember he drew a new shape of the mechanical parts. Okay, according to me, this should be the final result. And I asked him, why exactly this shape? And he said, oh, because it's a beautiful shape. And then we started to run our test. The entire study, the entire project lasted like 9 months. So after 9 months, we came up with the best shape, and was exactly the one that the guy drew with the pencil on the paper, okay? So it's not because he's, on one side, he was also a little bit of a genius, but, his intuition has been trained for years and years. So for him, the perfect shade from the mechanical point of view was perfectly overlapping with the concept of beauty. And so a beautiful shape was also the optimal mechanical shape. Okay, the two concepts were perfectly overlapped, exactly the same. Okay, so this is what, to me, what means to train your intuition. And then I want to add something a little bit about my own intuition. So generally speaking, I learned over the years that my intuition is generally pretty good in capturing the important parts of a problem. What is really bad, my intuition is about the timing. Is always wrong about the timing. So now over time I learned that when I have an intuition, probably the idea is not bad at all, but I have to be very careful. Maybe it's too late or too early. So I don't trust my intuition by the time. I never managed to train myself about picking the right timing.
That's so interesting. All right. Well, thank you so much, Franco. It's been such a pleasure catching up and hearing about what you're doing and having this deep conversation with some really great tips for entrepreneurs, and I would say anybody, really.
Thank you, Aurora, and it was absolutely a pleasure to talk to you and also to reconnect with you after a few years. And even if every while we have a little chat.
We catch up, yeah. So if people have questions for you, want to hire you, what to get in touch, like where should I send them?
Well, the best place is my LinkedIn profile,
Okay.
and but they can also send me an email. My email is very easy. It's my last name, folini@gmail.com. So super easy.
Okay, so I'll put the link to LinkedIn in the
Thank
episode notes. And anybody listening, you can also reach Franco at Folini. You'll see it on the screen and at gmail.com.
thank
Everyone, thank you for listening. My name is Aurora Menegallo. I help people do work they love, whether they're changing careers or growing their business or career. And you can find everything about me and what I do at repurposeyourpurpose.com. Thank you, everyone.